Barbecue Central.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Welcome to the Really Big Barbecue Central Show. This is the show that talks about all things important to the world of barbecue and grilling. Originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city of Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I'm your program host, Greg Rippey. Happy to have you here. Come on. If you want to jump in on the show tonight via the phone, or if you're not a fan of the phone call, if you're a fan of the written word, that being email, here are your 2 bits of contact information should you see fit to join in tonight.
You can get in touch with the show by calling 216-220-0966. Email Greg at the bbqcentralshow.com. On the Twitter and Instagrams at BBQ Central Show.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you didn't get the newsletter. It is the second Tuesday of a brand new month. And that, of course, means a visit from the guy who created and currently runs, along with some help from other folks on staff, the most heavily trafficked barbecue and grilling website currently available on Earth. That, of course, Meathead from AmazingRibs.com. We have a number of things to talk about this evening, not the least of which is the impending Father's Day holiday, some wives' tales or misconceptions or stereotypes that I will throw at Meathead as it relates to Father's Day. Actually, just one. Father's Day and then comparatively Mother's Day. We'll talk about that here in a couple minutes. We will also talk about gifts for Dad if you haven't thought about anything, if you haven't gotten anything yet. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, more or less on Tuesday, you're not going to go shopping Tuesday night. 10 years ago, Wednesday, middle of the week, you got to buy something, you got to ship it. Is it going to go express? All of that is pretty much wiped out, and I mean, you can literally wait until last minute, still order something really good from Amazon or something online. It will ship there in time, no problem. So we are not last minute giving you ideas for Father's Day gifts if you haven't yet. You have an ample amount of time to accumulate these items as we talk about them during Meathead's segment, then send them to your father or brother or whoever you buy for Father's Day. Maybe you don't buy for Father's Day. Fine. Just take in our advice and think about how you would like to treat yourself to something like we talk about this evening or later on in the barbecue season. Who knows? The season, I mean all year round. I'm just throwing out season for colorful conversation. So Meathead coming up in about 11 minutes from now. Then we will move to the second hour. And joining me 14 past the second hour, a barbecue Hall of Famer, a guy who is currently in partnership with one of the more popular restaurants in Tampa, but probably the most popular barbecue restaurant in the Tampa-St. Pete area. That, of course, is great friend of the show, Ray Dr. Barbecue Lampy. And we will be talking to him about a bunch of things, really. We'll get a status update because it's been a little while as far as the restaurant and if his interest is waning in the restaurant at all, or if he is still with vim and vigor and pushing it out there, and is the restaurant growing? Could we be talking about multiple locations or maybe even a franchise opportunity for Dr. Barbecue's restaurant? We'll see in about an hour from now. A handful of other items to talk about with Ray, not the least of which would be the 2019 class of the Barbecue Hall of Fame. And then helping me close it out this evening is somebody who's been on the show once before. You knew him as the marketing director for B&B Charcoal, but if you follow social media and especially the charcoal world of this subculture that we are so passionate about, fellow by the name of Joey Machado has just moved out of B&B and into a marketing directorship of Fogo Charcoal, which happens to be a sponsor of this show right here. And we will talk to Joey about what happened or what didn't happen at B&B and why the leave, and then how the relationship with Fogo came, and more importantly than all of that, what he is going to be charged to do as he is now the marketing director of Fogo Charcoal. So there you have it. We have Meathead coming up shortly, Dr. Barbecue and Joey Machado in the second hour. Your phone calls and emails mixed in as they pop through, 216-220-0966. Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. All right, if you are not following me socially, please do that on Instagram and Twitter at BBQ Central Show. And you can also be my friend on Facebook, if you don't mind, /BBQ Central Show. You can also watch the live video feed on the Facebook page, also right here on YouTube Live, which is where a lot of people are starting to make that move over so they can interact with the chat. I do monitor chat on YouTube as well. And you can also get it on Periscope. I have no idea how that works. I just know that a feed goes there and people perhaps watch on Periscope. Again, I really have no idea. I think a tweet goes out, you click a link, and you can watch a show through Twitter. So, however you want to consume it, that's fine. If you can't get it live, subscribe to the podcast. Go to the website for that. Hit the subscribe button. You can see all the ways you can do that. But on any type of podcast platform, I am available to subscribe to. Special thank you going out to the one and only Matt Pittman from Meat Church for letting my Oklahoma embedded correspondent, David Huff, cover his most recent barbecue class, which actually took place this past weekend. He was teaching alongside of first Tuesday of the month recurring guest Malcolm Reed from Killer Hogs Barbecue, also How to Barbecue Right YouTube channel. They were both very accommodating. I have some sound that I'll actually play top of the second hour. But I do want to thank both Matt, because it was at Matt's house. Matt has the Meat Church in his backyard. He's converted that backyard into quite a palatial live fire estate, big enough to hold a class. I think David said there was roughly 40 people, or maybe there was a few more than 40 people. That's a lot of people to have in your house, depending on what size house and yard you have. There's no way you could fit 40 people in my backyard in any type of a teaching facility. We could probably cram 40 people back there if we had to, but it probably wouldn't be that great or comfortable or appreciated. However, my appreciation is going out to Matt Pittman and Malcolm Reed, who was also the guest teacher in that particular class this past weekend. They did it Saturday and Sunday. David was there on Saturday. So we have some interviews with both Malcolm and Matt, and then we have a couple interviews with two of the guests, actually. So looking forward to that. That's all queued up and will happen top of the second hour. If you were listening to the show last week, you heard none other than, and do I have this right? Let me make sure I got the right screen here. Okay. Yeah, so let me go back to me. In the top of the second hour, I had Lee and Michael Quisenberry from Jim Quisenberry Barbecue. Jim was one of the 9 semifinalists of ultimately 3 that made it into the barbecue class, or the Barbecue Hall of Fame class of 2019. That ended up being John Bishop, C.B. Stubblefield, and Wayne Monk. But Jim was on the semifinal list of 9. And I didn't really know too much about Jim, and I found out he had a website. I reached out through the website, ended up talking with Lee, and Lee also looped in Michael. And during our conversation, Michael had said, hey, I was down at Memphis in May, and I was a big fan of Mo Quezon, and I asked him to sign my chest. I think what he wanted to say was boob, but he said he pulled his shirt up, and Mo Quezon was a little taken aback by his aggressive nature on getting that John Hancock on his chest, and he said he had video. And he did not lie. He does have video. I have that video. And here's what it looked like. Now, what I have to impress upon you immediately is when you see Michael toss his shirt up and expose his musculature, you have to make sure you watch Mo Kasan's eyes because they are big like UFOs. He immediately turns to the right like, what the F? But most importantly, listen to the guy laughing because you know that is going to be my laughing sound drop starting next week's show. Here you go.
What's up, man? How you doing? You got a red beard, dude. Can I get your autograph?
Look at that. Look at those eyes. He's like, oh, I'm out.
Hey, Uncle. Come on, Mom. Let's get this guy. I ain't get the camera. Sign no man boob, all right?
You heard it right there. Mo Kasan saying, I'm never signing a man's boobs. He said boobs. Mo Kasan said boobs. He said it. I heard it. Got it on tape. Did you hear that guy's laugh? That laugh will be on the sound card deck starting next week. That was the best laugh. Awesome. Meathead coming up out of the break. I will talk to you quickly about the barbecue guru, always believing that outdoor cooking should be easy and fun because it can be, especially with any of the barbecue guru products. That's right, from grills to automatic temperature control devices to accoutrements that will make your barbecue life easier, like the ever-popular rib ring. Do you cook on a ceramic cooker? Do you hate the fact that even on the extra-large versions, you can only fit 3 and maybe 4 racks unless you go into rib rack area and you stand them up, you don't like it, whatever. The rib ring can fit up to 6 St. Louis cut spare ribs, or you can forego the 6th rack and stick a whole chicken on there like upright, easily doubling the cooking capacity for your ribs of any cooker on the ceramic side, and it can work with other cookers as well. Just go ahead and order it up, very inexpensive. And doubling your rib cooking capacity without adding extra levels or anything like that. You can also take a look at their Monolith Guru Edition grill that has a built-in power draft fan already in it, so you can have a controller, stick your controller on there, the fan works, and away you go. Or you can upgrade your controller if you want. You head on over to bbqguru.com. That's bbqguru.com, or call them with any questions, 800-288-GURU. That's 800-288-GURU. The Barbecue Guru continues to be a breakthrough in barbecue technology. We are back with Meathead from AmazingRibs.com right after this. Stick around, be right back.
Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
This portion of the show being brought to you by Butcher Barbecue, makers of award-winning injections, marinades, rubs, seasonings, barbecue sauces, grilling oils. All of Butcher Barbecue products have been tested on the competition circuit as well as backyards worldwide. Be the pitmaster of your neighborhood and visit butcherbbq.com. Always trust your butcher. The second Tuesday of the month brings a visit from my personal friend, and yet, as you look through the barbecue landscape online, the creator of the most heavily trafficked barbecue and grilling website ever, it is Meathead. Hey, Meathead.
Hey, Greg, how's the barbecue rock star from the Rockstar City? And hello, Centralites.
We are doing absolutely fabulous. Always looking forward to the second Tuesday of the month, Meathead, and we have quite a bit of items to get through here during our 2 segments, so if you don't mind, we'll press right in.
At your service.
Last time, Meathead, you were on, I gave you quite a little surprise as I revealed to you that you had made it on what I call the short list of 9 Barbecue Hall of Fame semifinalists. 3 of those eventually making up the class of 2019. Alas, it was not meant for you this time around. Not meant for me either, but I wasn't even on the short list of 9. Do you have any pangs of bitterness, or do you feel that it's something that will eventually happen?
I think we discussed it last time. I would be honored, and I would love it if it happened. I'm a little selfish in that I know it would really be good for my business. And my business is my life. It would certainly help in fending off the trolls on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube when they want to argue with me about beer can chicken or something. If I could say, well, when you're in the Barbecue Hall of Fame. But no. And in fact, I think they made 3 really good choices. One of the criticisms of the Hall of Fame has been barbecue so white. Mm-hmm. And I don't think there was an attempt to balance that out or fix that, but they did. I mean, 2 of the 3 selections happened to be black and well-deserved. And I think that all 3 of them are really, Hall of Famers in their own right. I'm delighted that I was nominated. I don't understand why it's called semifinalists. It should be finalists. I mean, if you're in the selection field and then the next is but that's all right. And the other semifinalists, I mean, there was some really good people among them too.
Yes,
so I'm told that, that I listened to your show. I learned from your show. Man, you got sources. How did you get so well connected? The inside poop, way ahead of everybody else.
Of course.
Then you had the official announcement show before. I mean, they announced it on your show.
Right.
I mean, it was like your Radio City Music Hall. It was pretty cool that you had this information, and you quite surprised me.
Yeah, thank you. We try and keep our finger on the pulse, as I like to say. So, and it helps to have a few key insiders that are. It's not that it's a leak to me per se, but there is a belief, and I truly believe this, that they have the best interest of the Hall of Fame in mind, and this enables more grassroots and a building of momentum and interest. And if they ever feel like it might be waning, they want to do these kind of things to make sure that it stays in the forefront of the mind.
They used you to tell the story, too. I mean, I learned from you that apparently I'm going to be grandfathered in next year and the year after. So apparently when you're nominated, you are automatically renominated for 2 years.
Right. There is a 3-year holding
that's something
tank.
I did not know, and I'm delighted. And so maybe there's a chance next year or the year after.
That's right. So we'll see how it goes. But that's tightening up and tying up the 2019 Barbecue Hall of Fame. Because, by the way, I did get one right, and that was C.B. Stubblefield. My other 2 were not nearly as correct as I thought they might have been, but that's all right. You did say it would be good for the business if you were there, help with the trolls and stuff. But, other than that, no big deal for you, though, right?
No, I mean, I know who I am. I know what I've accomplished. I'm really proud of what we've done. Every single day, we get emails from people saying, "You've made my life better." I mean, that is so gratifying that you taught me how to cook. My wife respects me more. The kids ask, "Can Dad cook dinner tonight?" I got laid last night because of your recipes.
Oh, yes.
I mean,
can I have that recipe?
We have a page on the website of testimonials, some of which are very funny, some of which are very touching. A young man who learned to barbecue alongside his dad, and their last meal together was a barbecue meal with one of our recipes. Another elderly person who now is asked to cook barbecue for the retirement home he lives in on a regular basis. I mean, it's just very cool. Barbecue brings people together, and guys don't learn to cook when they're young. Women often hang around the kitchen with mom, and they learn to cook. Guys, we hang around the grill with dad, and often we get mythology. One of the things we've done on AmazingRibs.com is bust a lot of myths that we learn from dad. And so having a place where guys, and I say guys because it's still 80% guys. I don't know how we got control of the grill and the remote control, but it's that's the way it is.
Meathead from AmazingRibs.com joining me here on the show as he does the second Tuesday each and every month. So we have Father's Day coming up on Sunday, and as I mentioned in the open, Meathead, if this was 5 and 10 years ago, we would be doing the "Have you forgotten, Dad?" or "This is last minute stuff." But really, we're not in a environment anymore. I mean, it can all be last minute, and it still looks like you spent a lot of time getting it out there because it can be delivered very quickly.
I heard your intro.
Yep. So let's talk about Father's Day gifts. Look at this thing. Is this a grill brush?
This is the Grilltastic by Sienna.
Oh my God! It's got a power cord.
It is the absolute best grill grate cleaner I've ever seen or had or touched.
Ever.
It's amazing. It's got a water tank.
See that?
And you got a little window here. You can see how much water is in there. And it's got a push button. And it's a steamer. There's a nozzle down here by the brushes.
Okay.
And it puts out some serious steam. And I have cleaned some grill grates that were really gunked up with this thing pretty darn easily. It does a really good job of getting you down to stainless steel or whatever, and the brush comes off, and I can't get it off right now, but it's replaceable, and it just really does steam. Well, duh. It just does a great job. No chemicals involved. I forget. I think it's $129. It's on Amazon. I have a complete review on AmazingRibs.com, so go to there, look up Grilltastic, read what I wrote about it there, and then click our link so we get the referral money. If you don't want to spend this much, this is my new favorite toy. It's a pair of tongs.
Very wide.
Great for burgers. I pack my burgers very loose, and they often fall apart when I flip, and you've just got to be gentle when you've got a regular spatula, you flip, they can bust open, and this or for small fillets of fish, and this is like $10. Stainless steel. It's not chrome plated. It's stainless. Really like this little baby. I was looking for a fish tong. There was one by a company named Sanson, and the tongs were much wider. I mean, like 8 or 10 inches wide.
Wow.
And they stopped making them. And I have one, and I love it. I just used it the other night. I got some Copper River salmon the other day. And
what is that?
Oh, Copper River is Alaskan salmon, wild caught, line caught. And the salmon aficionados say it is the best salmon in the world.
That's different from sockeye. That's different from sockeye.
It's Appalachian. It's from the Copper River. I don't know what species of salmon it is, frankly.
Got it.
It may be sockeye.
Is that like the real? Is that the real darker colored salmon?
It's a very
fish?
dark,
red or whatever.
Ruddy pink. Really nice piece of meat. So I wanted the big flipper for that, but this is really good for burgers and small fillets. And I got this baby here, and I bought one of these, and I'm going to start a lending program.
You
for
have you really brought the hardware in for the reviews tonight.
Just a few odds and ends.
Is that a workhorse sharpener?
Gifts. This is amazing.
Is that a workhorse?
This is a knife sharpener.
Yeah.
This is the Ken Onion knife sharpener. Yeah. And I forget the price. We've got a complete review on it. It's a belt. It's got a belt here, and it's got numerous adjustments, but it's really easy to use. And it's a serious knife sharpener for both kitchen knives. You can use scissors on it. I haven't tried it on my lawnmower blade yet, but I bet it would do that.
You won't believe this, but let's see. It was last weekend, so a week ago, not just this past weekend, but a week before that. Bobby had her senior graduation party from high school, and one of my attendees gifted me that same knife sharpener for free, if you can believe it or not.
Wow, and they must like you,
I
pal.
guess.
This is not a trivial item.
And it's easy to use.
I think
like
it's, in the $150 range, something like that.
I looked at it, and I became very intimidated by it because I'm not very handy.
Yeah, it sat around here for about a month before I got around to using it. Once I got around, and it does not come in this clamshell, by the way.
Right.
I just bought this clamshell because I'm going to start loaning it to members of the Pitmaster Club because not everybody wants to buy a fancy knife sharpener. We'll just loan it out to members. We'll start a lend-lease program.
Uh-huh.
I got one more item here. I did not run around and get a whole bunch of stuff, but we can talk about others. And I've been reading this. This is Jim.
Muckney.
Give me Jim for pronouncing your name badly. Ashmute. Jim Ashmute.
Moody,
you know him.
Yes. You know who he is, right?
Well, he's a journalist from Atlanta, and he was essential in putting together this exhibit that is in Atlanta now about barbecue.
But do you know what else he is?
No.
He's one of the 6 nominating committee members of the Barbecue Hall of Fame.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so you probably you don't like him. You like him a little bit.
I like him a lot now.
Right. See, Jim, he bought your book.
But it's a history of barbecue. And I'm a big fan of barbecue history, and I've written extensively about it, and he's credited us here for as a research reference.
Oh.
But it's just he's a good storyteller, and he's a good writer. He's a professional journalist. And he starts at the beginning, and he goes through, and he covers a lot of stuff with some good photography.
So what's his beginning of barbecue? Is it like in the Caribbean, or does he start in America, like in Virginia?
I think he starts with George Washington.
Okay.
I mean, why not? Why not? He's the father of our country.
I just wonder where people decide to start the beginning at. Do they take it back to its origins?
I mean, he's a storyteller, so time. It's not chronological. Yeah, he starts with George Washington in the introduction.
Got it.
Talking about how Washington had an ox roast the day they laid the foundation for the Capitol building,
mm-hmm.
and then the chapters. Let's see, I'll read you the chapter titles. But it's just a good read. I mean, I do a lot of reading. I read a lot of fiction. And I know, and I was trained as a writer. I'm a decent writer. I'm not a great writer. I'm not Hemingway, but I read everything Hemingway ever wrote last year. So I keep, and this guy's a good writer. I mean, he's up there.
All right.
Okay. Well, the titles are a bit esoteric. The Smoke of Distant Shore, The Cradle, Big Feeds, South by Southwest. But it's very well organized, and it's a good read. It's a lot of fun. And he has participated and been a mover and shaker behind an exhibition in Atlanta on the story of barbecue. And I hear it's it's a professional exposition at a professional museum. And I hear it's really good, and it shuts down in September. So I've got to find a way to get to Atlanta by September to see this exposition. We ought to go together.
That's right. Hurry on up. Let's pick a date and let's book it up. So those are your gift recommendations. There was a work sharp knife, some of them, right? The big industrial steamer for your grill grates, and the book Smoke Lore, just to name a few.
Yeah.
Let's talk about quickly dinner for Dad, because I'm going to make a bold statement here, Meathead. I know you're probably pretty surprised about that, but we are courageous on the show, as Daniel Vaughn likes to say. And for Mother's Day, I think there's a pretty solid expectation that you either take Mom out to eat, or the man and the rest of the family make Mom dinner. However, for Father's Day, I believe the exact opposite is expected. No one talks about taking Dad out for dinner or do the cooking for Dad. the gift is to let Dad cook what he wants. I mean, what the hell?
Yeah, there's some truth to that, I think. I don't know. We ought to do a poll on that. What do you do for Dad for dinner? I know Mother's Day, forget it if you want a reservation at a good restaurant.
Sure.
I don't know if that's the same case with barbecue, with Father's Day.
No, I think it's expected that the dad will. The gift is Dad can go out and start a fire and cook what he wants.
And I think Dad probably likes that. I mean, dads like to cook. Dads like to barbecue. Hopefully they know how.
Hopefully we're helping them. So let's talk about steak. And let's go ahead and talk about lobster. What should we do for Dad and beef?
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, you and I have talked about steak before, and I don't want to bore people who've been bored by me before, but I think the secret to steak is the thickness. How thick is the steak? If it's a thin steak, if it's a flank steak, or if it's a nice ribeye, but it's an inch or 3/4, you're going to have to cook it hot and fast. Mm-hmm. You want to take it right from the fridge with a cold center and cook it hot and fast. I mean, the ideal steak, the Aristotelian quintessential dream steak, is got a dark brown crust on the outside, a little salty, and even edge to edge, medium rare. And we've talked about medium rare is the temperature, 130, 135, at which steak is most tender and most juicy. You go undercooking that and you get into the rare and blue zone, and it can be a little stringy. The water tends to be bound up in the muscle fibers, and it's not quite as juicy. You go over that 135, it starts moving from pink to tan to brown to gray, and it dries up. The water evaporates. It's trapped inside the muscle fibers. It shrinks, and it gets very tough. So in that 130, 135 range. So that's your ideal steak. Dark crust, 130, 135, and the center even. And many steaks are kind of a rainbow. Dark brown, then a layer of light brown, then a layer of tan, then a layer of pink, then finally about half the volume of the steak is perfect medium rare. And that's because you're cooking it too hot. Mm-hmm. Heat moves slowly through water, and steak is 70% water. So if you put steak over a hot fire, you're going to get a good dark brown crust, but the heat's going to take its sweet time getting into the center. And as it moves towards the center, it's going to keep cooking as it goes. So you're going to get the overcooked edges and the layers below the edges, and you get this rainbow effect. You'll still have a delicious steak. You'll have a great crust, but you won't get optimum tenderness. So if you've got a skinny steak, you've just got to cook hot and fast because you don't have time to screw around with it. But if you've got a thick steak, 1 inch to 1.5 inches, I'm a huge believer in reverse sear. And I use reverse sear not just for steaks, but for chicken. It prevents burning the skin. I even do baked potatoes with reverse sear. You get crispy, crunchy skin on your taters. Reverse sear is a technique that can be applied to just about anything that's over 1 inch thick. And so you start it on the indirect zone, no flame underneath it, only convection airflow at around 225, and it takes time. It gently warms, not quickly warms, and you get even temperature, even color, bumper to bumper, and then you move it to the hot side when it's almost done, not quite, and you sear the snot out of it. Now, and you do that with the lid open, and you flip, because you don't want energy building up. Mm-hmm. If you leave, and everybody says you put it down and you leave it down. When that happens, especially over direct radiant heat, you're cooking over infrared radiation. It's energy. It's like energy from the sun, and it builds up in the outer layers of the meat like a battery or a capacitor, and it stores that energy and it starts moving inward. And if you flip it, a lot of that energy will bleed off into the atmosphere, especially if you leave the lid open. So
Oh.
when you sear the steak at the end, not the beginning, you flip, and bleed off the energy in the atmosphere with the lid open. And I think that's my favorite way to do a thick steak.
All right, so we can talk about lobster after we do a quick break. Agreed?
Mm.
Yes? All right, good. Stand by, Meathead. We'll talk about lobster when I get back. We are talking with Meathead from AmazingRibs.com. Of course, second Tuesday of the month guest. I'll talk to you quickly about Southside Market Barbecue. Attention anyone who loves sausage and barbecue. That's most of us. Established in 1882, Southside is the oldest barbecue joint in Texas. They've been owned and operated by the same family for 3 generations. Famous for the original beef sausage, of course. That is the coarse ground and natural pork casing. They also have authentic Central Texas barbecue to purchase as well. All meats, including the prime briskets, slow smoked over real Texas post oak wood for many, many hours. They ship nationwide via the online store, SouthsideMarket.com. They ship fresh and smoked sausages nationwide. Shipping customers can choose to order now and ship later. Includes a custom gift note, mailed to multiple addresses without additional charges. How about that? All shipped items are vacuum sealed to ensure freshness and ease of preparation for the customer. Shipped with dry ice to ensure complete freshness upon arrival. All shipped items are, I already said that. All meats are processed in the on-site USDA inspected facility. On-site meat markets for fresh and smoked products. Custom orders are welcome. 2 restaurants if you want to try them. Elgin in Texas since 1882. Bastrop, Texas since 2014. Grocery distribution through Texas and many surrounding states as well. If you go to SouthsideMarket.com and you place an order, whether it be small or large, make sure you use code BBQ Central. One word, all lowercase, BBQ Central, for 10% off the entire online order. And that's not just for the first order. It's for all recurring orders that are done online at SouthsideMarket.com. Once again, that's 10% off when you use code BBQ Central for your online orders at SouthsideMarket.com. We are back with more Meathead right after this. Stick around. Be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rampey.
And this portion of the show being brought to you by CookinPellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets. For all the pellet-driven cookers out there on the market today, visit CookinPellets.com for more information or to purchase. You can also visit Amazon.com as well to purchase if you are so inclined. Download their free app online. Get alert to special shipping deals when they come up. We are talking with Meathead from AmazingRibs.com via the Fogo Charcoal Hotline. All right, Meathead. So I am a huge, I think we've also talked about it on this show before. You're a huge seafood guy, and I would assume that would be a shellfish guy as well to some degree. But, I don't want to assume. Are you a shellfish guy too?
Well, Greg, you've touched a nerve.
Oh, no. Is it all the same?
I was raised in Florida. I went
Right.
to the University of Florida. If I lived back in Florida, I would be fishhead, not meathead. I absolutely adore fresh fish.
All right, good.
I love clams, oysters, mussels. But somewhere along the line, after eating it all my life, about 20 years ago, I developed an allergy
Oh, dear.
to the bugs, shrimp, crab, lobster, and crawfish. I can no longer cook and eat. But I can still talk about it because I developed my techniques long ago.
You know, my mom has the same problem.
Yeah, I think they believe now that it has something to do with iodine in them.
Oh.
But it's just the bugs, just those 4. And if I eat them, I swell up and die. So if you want to knock me off, Greg,
Let's not do that. I'll eat your lobster too. I'll do that.
But that said,
Yes.
Couple of things to talk about with lobster. First of all, if you just buy lobster tails, you're almost certainly getting warm water lobsters like Florida lobsters. They don't have claws. It's a marvelous meat. Some people prefer it to the cold weather lobsters like Maine. But when you order tails only, you're going to likely get a Florida lobster or a Caribbean lobster
Should you
or
be-
even a Hawaiian lobster.
Should you be asking if you're getting that to be sure, or it doesn't matter?
Usually when you buy tails, they're frozen. If you get them fresh, you could ask, but almost certainly that's what they are. They may tell you otherwise, but almost certainly that's what they are, because Maine lobsters have claws.
Okay.
The cold, from Boston, the cold water lobsters have claws, and the claw meat is prized. So they're not just going to cut off the tail and sell the tail. They're going to sell the whole lobster. Lobster on the grill is a lot like corn on the grill. You face this issue. If you grill lobster, you're going to get more flavor than if you steam it or boil it.
Okay.
Remember, water's a solvent. Water removes flavor. It's like boiling ribs. Boiling ribs, you're going to take flavor out of them. Boiling corn, you're going to take flavor out of it. I mean, when you boil corn, the water is cloudy afterwards. That's flavor. Same thing with lobster. If you grill it, if you put it in warm air, you're not going to lose any flavor. But it doesn't tenderize like water does. So you're going to get a little chewier meat. It's going to be the same thing with corn. Your corn, if you grill it, is going to be a little chewier than if you boil it or steam it, but it's going to have more flavor. Now, that's a trade-off I'm willing to make. I don't think I've ever had a tough lobster. So I like to grill it, and the best way to grill it that I know is to cut it in half and open it up so that you have cut it in half lengthwise. Mm-hmm. You kill a live lobster by running the knife down right between the eyes. That's right where the brain is. That kills the lobster instantly. It's the fastest, most painless way. That's the way they slaughter cattle, right between the eyes, right into the brain. And then you slice it down the length of the animal, fold it open, and now the meat is exposed. You cook it most of the time shell down, but if you want to turn it over a little bit and get some color on the meat, that's always nice. Brown is beautiful. Get a few grill marks, get a little color on the meat. Now, just behind the head is where the digestive system is, and what's in the digestive system is usually green, and it's called tamale. And there have been some issues lately. The state of Maine has issued a warning about tamale, that it's the filter system. And the waters of the world are not as clean and pure as they once were. So there can be bacterial or heavy metals. And they warn you not to eat a lot of it. I don't think it hurts to eat a little bit of it. And what I used to do is I would scoop it out, mix it with some butter and some breadcrumbs, fry it up in a frying pan, make it crunchy, and then put it back in the cavity. Just behind the tamale, the digestive system, you may often see a green streak. They call it the coral. Those are eggs, only in the female. They are also, they're not a problem. There's no warning against those. They're delicious, and that's a good technique for them too. Scoop them out, little breadcrumbs and garlic, maybe some parsley, and back into the cavity with those guys too. Butter, a lot of people like to use drawn butter or clarified butter, but just plain old melted butter works fine. I don't think it's necessary. I mean, the lobster meat itself is so sweet that I never used butter when I was eating lobster, but a lot of people absolutely love it that way. And of course, garlic bread is a great side for it.
Do you have a suggested temperature if you're doing it on the grill? Is it an indirect kind of a thing versus direct?
No, it cooks so fast. You don't want to overcook lobster. 125 to 130, which would be rare for a steak, is for most fish, most seafood. The top fish chefs say 125 max. I think you can take it up to 130, even 135 without too much of a problem, without it drying out. I mean, there's a lot of water in seafood. Whereas a steak may be 70, 75%, a lobster is probably closer to 85% water. Wow. So you're not going to dry it out. So you don't want to overcook it, though. Usually, if you don't use, people who listen to you or read me, we preach thermometers. We know the value of temperature, both air temp for the grill, meat temp. I mean, it's just a way of life for me. but a lot of people still cook by sight, by feel. And all the books say wait until the meat, which starts out opaque, opalescent, wait till it gets cloudy or creamy colored.
Yep.
It's a reasonable guide.
Meathead joining us from AmazingRibs.com, talking about steak, talking about lobster. And now, let's. So, any other Father's Day stuff before we totally diverge off topic?
I know you're on the wagon for wine, but I have this rosé wines have been quite the fad lately, and I've discovered Alexander Valley Vineyards rosé of Sangiovese. Sangiovese is the grape from Chianti.
Yes.
And Italy, and it's grown in California in very small quantities. And these guys, Alexander Valley Vineyards, are making a delightful rosé, and that's what I'm sucking on tonight.
And people should not be, especially men, should not be turned off or made to feel inferior if they're drinking a rosé or anything. I mean, this is a really good wine.
Yeah, like the color of your wine is going to tell people you're swishy.
Yeah.
And no.
All right, good. Okay, so we can change topics now?
Anything.
All right.
I'm along for the ride. I never know where you're going to take me.
Meathead, the color of your wine makes you look swishy. Anyway, so let's talk about this. It was recently announced earlier today by multiple people, you were one of them, that there is some type of new barbecue video subscription class coming out or website, or I don't want to say, everybody's familiar with that website, masterclass.com, and it has all of these brilliant cooks and chefs and authors and directors and all this, and you can, get a class from them to learn to become a better this or that. This is something similar in vein.
Yeah, actually, I joined Masterclass to take the video lessons from the great chef Thomas Keller, and there are others out there on that program. This is a similar concept. It's called Barbecue Stars, and they've recruited 11 pretty good cooks. Tuffy Stone is among them. I'm on the list. Harry Sue is among them. They got. Let me get that list up here if I can.
They got the guys from the SCA.
Yeah, Ken from the steak competition alliance. Here we go. He's, I would assume, going to talk about steaks. All right, here we go. I got the lineup right here. Dave Busca, who's a regular with your show, often in the audience. I don't know if he's here tonight. Two-time world champ. He's going to teach champion secrets for the backyard griller. Ariane Dogan, not known inside the barbecue world that well, but she owns, I'm drawing a blank. D'Artagnan. She imports foie gras, French poultry.
Yep.
She is French. She's from Gascony, and carries just a huge range of marvelous meats. And she's going to teach let's cut to the beef, butcher's picks, and the best way to cook them. Dean Fearing, a James Beard Award-winning chef, Fearing's restaurant, and he bills himself as the father of Southwestern cuisine. He's going to be talking about elevating the barbecue experience at home. Tim Grandinetti, also an award-winning chef from Springhouse Restaurant, Kitchen and Bar. He's going to talk about farm-to-table flavor bombs. Ken Phillips and Brett Galloway, they're the founders of the Steak Cook-Off Association. They're going to teach raising the steaks. Mark Pittman, he's the owner of Meat Church. You were just mentioning him in the preamble to the show.
Matt Pittman.
Meat Church, also a grand champion, pitmaster. It all starts with the rub. I'm going to talk about the Meathead method, using science for great barbecue and grilling. Kent Rollins, if you guys have never seen this guy, you got to Google him. He's a storyteller, humorist, the cowboy cook, tips from the chuck wagon, live fire and cast iron cooking. Go to YouTube, look this guy up. He's phenomenal. I mean, he's just what you want. cowboy hat, drawl, chaps, and boy, does he know how to cook chuck wagon style and cast iron. Harry Sue, of course, he's won numerous grand championships. Slap Yo Daddy Barbecue, and he's going to put an Asian flair to barbecue. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, Tuffy Stone, he just won Memphis in May. He's the hottest cook on the circuit right now. He's won everything of any importance in the past 3 or 4 years. And he's going to talk about first place box secrets. So I presume that's going to be competition box assembly. Mm-hmm. Each of us is going to tape. The taping is going to take place in the next few weeks. Each of us is going to tape for a day or two, and they're going to come out of it with 8 or 10 segments. I'm working on my scripts now, and you'll be able to subscribe to the entire program, watch them as often as you want. I think you can download them.
So can I just get your video and not everybody else's, or is there going to be like a masterclass option where for one fee you have access to everything, and for reduced?
So I think it's one fee
for everything.
And don't ask me what that number is. It's around 110 or something. Here's the URL. tinyurl.com. You know, tiny URLs. http://tinyurl.com/BBQ stars. tinyurl.com/BBQ stars. Go to that email address, and it's got all the facts and figures, the prices, more of the information. They just announced it today, so you're the first broadcaster to get the story. I announced it via email this morning, and I think a lot of the others have been announcing it via social media.
Yep, seeing it.
It should be fun. I'm looking forward to it. The future of the internet is video. I'm going to work hard to make a really good series.
Do you have to go somewhere to shoot these, or do they send a crew out to you in order to do this to make it more accommodating?
They're sending a crew to me, and they say part of the process is for each of the barbecue stars is they want us to give them a little bit of a tour of our kitchen and our deck and how we work. So a little behind the scenes inside baseball.
All right. Well, that sounds like a good time. Again, you can look for that website at tinyurl.com/BBQ stars.
That's it.
All right. And you can check out pricing and all the other videos and everybody that Meathead just mentioned and gave a little promo to. So in the meantime, you can find Meathead over at AmazingRibs.com, and you can find him here the second Tuesday of each month as we talk about live fire as we would normally do. Meathead, always appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
I wouldn't miss a second Tuesday. It's always fun talking to you in the Centralites. Thanks a lot, Greg.
You got it. There he is, Meathead, from AmazingRibs.com and being featured on the Fogo Charcoal hotline at fogocharcoal.com. And he has my mind spinning. I have like 2 minutes here, but let me go to on Instagram. I follow this place called it's called Lobster Anywhere. I think that's what it is. And I think they say, yeah, here we go. Live Maine lobster delivered since 1999. All right. Menu, lobster tails, jumbo lobster tails, $33.95. Lobster tails, specials, colossal lobster tails. That's what I want. 16 to 20 ounce colossal lobster tails. And let's see what they say. Buy huge any lobster. Details. Direct from the source. But what source are they? 16 to 20 ounce. Over 1 pound each, packed with sweet and succulent meat. Blah, blah, blah. Colossal order. Well, it does say right from the source. And this says Lobster Anywhere, and it's live Maine lobster. Oh, dear. Well, I guess I'm going to have to pitch I just figured since it said Lobster Anywhere, and right on the homepage it says live Maine lobster delivery, but maybe they're only talking about, available year-round from a sustainable fishery locally caught by independent lobstermen. We specialize in live Maine lobster and frozen-tailed delivery. Dedicated to resource conservation and preservation. Blah, blah, blah. Well, geez, I don't know. Should we just assume that because it says that's order Maine lobsters from a company that has been online since 1999? Well, I'm going to have to send them an email and see. Are your lobster tails only cold water or warm water? Dear sir, my name is Greg. I was talking to my pal Meathead, and he said that lobster tails only are mostly warm water, and even if they tell you cold water, they really mean warm water. Can you shed some light on this subject? Thank you. Your pal, Greg. Wait. Love mostly Greg. Okay. He's got my mind in a tizzy. I'm not going to lie. All right. We'll see what comes out of that. Meathead can be found at AmazingRibs.com. I don't want to lose this webpage. We'll leave it up there. I can email those people after. According to Steaks Doug, $197 is the discount price for... Is that the Barbecue Superstore's price or the Barbecue Stars price? Steaks Doug. Wow. I think that's more than the masterclass.com year-long subscription, which is $180 if I'm not mistaken. South Texas Doug is Doug Scheiding. Oh, of course it is. He changed his name. Is that the... $197 is a discount price if you pre-order today, or does it go up to $297 right now for BBQ Stars? Don't give out those damn website either. Come on. Interesting. My buddy Jason saw a post from Meathead today, and he immediately signed up. So, Meathead, if you're wondering if you have pull, my pal Jason said, I saw Meathead say he was giving a class. He immediately went over and blindly signed up, if you can believe it. Like, Jason, don't you want to hold out for a second and see if it's... Nope. Meathead's brand is gold. If Meathead says he's part of it, he's pretty much ready to go. All right. We will see how that works over the next week as it launches today, and we'll get some feedback on it next week, maybe. We are pointing to the second hour. We will come back and wrap this first hour up in just 1 second. Stick around. I'll be right back.
Big name interviews, advice on cooking brisket and ribs, and the only host willing to share his honest opinion on all things important in the world of barbecue. It's the Barbecue Central Show.
Hey, welcome back. Thanks again to Meathead from AmazingRibs.com. We talked some pretty high-level gifts for Dad, like the Work Sharp Johnny Onion Knife Sharpener, which, again, I was gifted. I should probably put that thing on Craigslist. Chances of me ever using that and not screwing up a knife that I own is probably, there's probably a 90% chance I'm going to screw up my knives. And I have, like, 3 really good knives. I don't know. We also talked about what to get Dad and what to cook Dad. Meathead said, get Dad a rosé. It's refreshing. All right, we are heading to the second hour. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show right here on the Barbecue Central Network and on Facebook and on YouTube and on TuneIn and on podcast later. Stick around. I'll be right back.